two big lineups were some of the worst for the Pistons this season. They also featured Killian Hayes as the point guard with Jaden Ivey in the backcourt. But the two big lineups, they were terrible for the Pistons this year. Do you see the Pistons sticking with the two big lineups, or do you see them switching with the best lineup they played with this past year, which featured, I believe, Ivy at the point guard and Duren at the center with three shooters, Alec Burke, Sadiq Bey, and Bojan. Obviously, Sadiq Bey is not here, but that's not the point. The point is you were spreading the floor with shooters. Mm-hmm. So do you see the Pistons going to a one big lineup this upcoming season?
I honestly don't. Listening to Troy Weaver during his press conference, whether that was, with the media at the end of the season or listening to him on 97.1, he's very adamant of having four bigs. I mean, his main reasoning is depth. We're watching the playoffs right now and you see players getting hurt. And that's his main reason is, it's interesting because Isaiah Stewart really didn't play as James Wiseman because they shut him down.
Yep.
We don't even know what that looks like. I think they will stick with these four bigs, and I think it can work. You just have to add wing defenders and perimeter shooting for it to work. Like Cleveland has shown, it's possible to have a two big lineup. You just need good backcourt play and wing defenders to complement these guys. And, I think it can. But to your point, I did see that post from NBA University with the two big lineups, and the plus minus was really eye-opening. I'm not surprised that I think, to your point, the best lineup was Jaden Ivey, Alec Burke, Sadiq Bey, and Jalen Duren. And it was, I think, maybe negative, like a negative 0.5 or something like that.
Yeah,
the rest were like in the 20s and 30s. But
yeah,
I think they will stick with the two big lineup. I think it can work. You just have to get more wing defenders to complement everyone around you. Obviously, that graphic that NBA University did put out, I think it is telling. But at the same time, you really haven't seen Isaiah Stewart with Jalen Duren that much. You haven't seen Isaiah Stewart with Bagley or even James Wiseman for that matter. I think Isaiah Stewart is the biggest big. I should say he's the most important big with this two big lineup because he's the only big that can consistently actually stretch the floor to make this actually possible.
Yeah, brings that versatility on defense. What also we didn't see in those lineups was shooting. We didn't see Bojan. We didn't see Cade. We didn't see Alec Burke in those worst lineups. It was a Killian Hayes run show. And then it was James Wiseman and Marvin Bagley. And, the net rating thing, they're bad defensively. So those numbers are going to be – they were never going to be positive, but, maybe with some other players out there, they look better. I also think we're going to stay with the two big lineup, and that's why I really believe, who the coach is. We're going to talk about who we think the coach is, but that's why I'm thinking who they're looking at because he's coming from a system where they use three bigs that get consistent minutes. And, they won a championship a couple seasons ago with the two big system. Now those bigs are a little different than what the Pistons have. And in order for the two big lineup to work, I think it's going to be dependent on Isaiah Stewart, Bojan playing the four, which on offense it makes sense, or they're going to draft someone in the top five that's going to play that four spot, whether they're drafting at four, whether they're drafting at five. Because I think James Edwards that talked about in their podcast, they might trade that pick potentially. Like he wouldn't be surprised if that pick was traded. But I think that they still go with a four-man that makes the two big lineup work. That's what I at least think is going to happen, depending on who that is the coach, though.
Yeah, I mean, the Pistons are at the fourth or the fifth pick. I wouldn't be surprised if they do explore trades, but I mean, if you're at 4 or 5 and you want to do, more two big lineups, I mean, Jarace Walker, Cam Whitmore would be right there. They'd be right in your lap. And I think they could complement more than, Marvin Bagley, and that's no slight at Bagley. It's just, the best availability, is availability.
Yep.
And we haven't really seen a full 70 games out of him yet. I think you had mentioned the most he's ever played is like 58 or something like that. Or
he might be like 64, but
or 60. Yeah, I don't have the exact number, but it seems like he's always hurt, and it's not his fault. They're just freak injuries. But I do think, we will see it next season, and I'm hopeful it'll work.